My name is Dennis. I've got a pretty wild testimony, but I'll try to keep it relatively short here for the sake of everybody's time. So I was born and raised in the Lutheran Church as a child, and then my parents moved. We went to the Methodist Church. I was going to public school, got indoctrinated into the systems of the world, believing in evolution, Big Bang, all that sort of stuff. And I started to doubt my faith a lot. And I remember when I was probably 12 years old, right around the time that I should have been going through confirmation, I was really having a lot of doubts. And I brought it to the pastor at the time, and they couldn't answer my questions to my satisfaction. And so I just started praying, and I said, God, I want to know if you're real. Show me that you're real. Please show me that you're real. And I was like in tears crying this night after night, and nothing happened whatsoever that would show me that God was real. And it totally just destroyed my faith. And around that same time, I started hanging out with people who were doing drugs, drinking, smoking, and I got right into that. As a teenager, got into some legal trouble from drugs. And then after high school, I wanted a fresh start, and so I moved across the state to go hang out with my father, to live with him, and I was working with some people who were into psychedelic drugs, which is something I hadn't dabbled in yet. And they introduced me to LSD. I started taking acid all the time, and then started selling it, started doing mushrooms, started growing mushrooms and selling those, started smoking DMT, all manner of psychedelic drugs. But the main thing that really gripped me was nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas if you've ever been to the dentist office. And as a child, I was addicted to that stuff. I remember as a kid, I would go to the dentist office, and I'd be happy when they would find a cavity because I knew that I would get that laughing gas. And I would ask the dentist as a child to turn it up for me, and he would. And so when I found out you could just walk into a store and buy that stuff, I was like, wow, that's awesome. I bought so much of it at one point from the Whippet company that they sent me a Whippet brand backpack with my order for free. And I got really into this stuff, like really into it. And I was completely strung out on it. I mean, spending all of my money on drugs, basically, and fast food and drugs, and that was my life. And, it's not a very enjoyable place to be. And so I'm just going through life, and at a certain point, I get introduced to meth and heroin, and I'm totally strung out, and my family thinks I'm losing it. I go to Suboxone clinic, get on Suboxone to get off the opiates. That has so much side effects. I'm like, I'd rather be on heroin, so I got off that and went back to opiates. And all this whole time, I'm still abusing these psychedelic drugs. And what had used to be a lot of fun to me became no longer fun. And I started having these weird experiences with this nitrous oxide that were nothing like what you would expect from nitrous. They were full-blown psychedelic trips in like 30 seconds. And it was crazy. And I started having experiences with aliens and with entities from different dimensions. And I didn't realize what I was interacting with were actually demons, And so I'm like looking online for all these people's experiences about aliens and stuff. And so I find these people who are doing what are called CE5 rituals, where you basically sit and meditate and you basically pray and invite these things to interact with you. And I'm like, I'll give it a whirl, right? Why not? And it worked real well. They showed right up. And I was actually doing this at work, on my downtime, working in a factory, sober. I wasn't even high on drugs, and this is working. And I'm like, I'm gonna go grab some drugs and really give it a shot. And so I do exactly that. And they showed right up. And I couldn't get rid of them once I had them in my life. And I didn't want anything to do with them at that point. And these aliens were showing me in visions, they're showing me that they were gods and that they created this world, and they seated us all here, and they're showing me evolution, and they're telling me, you're going to be a part of our agenda, basically, to like show the world that these aliens are real. And it creeped me out. It creeped me out real good. And the Lord opened my eyes at a certain point to what these entities were. And I kid you not, one of these things that looks like a normal alien grew horns and turned red in front of me. And I said, that's a demon. And I did the only thing I could think of. I folded my hands and I said, God, Jesus, or whatever's good in this world, please make this stop. And this thing faded away. Now, most people would have been like, that's enough drugs, right? It wasn't enough for me. And so it was enough that night. I told my roommate what I'd been through. I'm like, I think I saw a demon, man. And he's like, nah, dude, you just did too many drugs. Just go sleep it off. You'll be all right. And so I sleep it off, wake up, and had the best sleep of my life. Just just slept like a rock. Wake up in the morning, and I just had to know the truth. And so I grabbed my drugs, and I sat down, and I said, God, well, I actually didn't even say God. I just said, I want to talk to what is good in this world. That was my prayer, you could say. And out of my wall walks a man made out of lightning. And I looked at him, and I didn't have to ask who I was looking at. I knew I was looking at, the Spirit of Christ. And and I didn't quit doing these drugs right away. I was interacting with him, and I was also interacting with all these demons that were coming to me. And I was casting them away from myself. And I had no clue what I was doing. I was just I was mad at them. I was like, get out of here, I want to talk to Jesus, basically. And so this goes on for a few days. And at a certain point, I'm sitting in my car, and if these were my drugs in my hand, I'm literally got my drugs in my hand, and I see the Spirit in front of me, and I hear in my mind, judge yourself. And I said, well, I'm a good guy. And he goes, really judge yourself? And I said, well, I'm not such a good guy, but I believe in you, and I want to do what's right. And when I said those words, the Spirit came into me, and I heard him say, you're going to live forever and have a battle. And I didn't know what it meant to be born again. I had no clue what this meant. I just knew that there's Spirit was in me now, and that he said, I'm going to live forever. I thought I was going to live forever in my physical body, and I was going to tell everyone, I'm going to be the guy that's going to live forever in this body, It's funny looking back. It was funny then, too. I laughed so hard. I was like, awesome, And so tells me I'm going to have this battle. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know much of anything. All I knew is I had the Spirit in me, and I had all these demons tormenting me. And I had no religious person there to tell me, Christian can't have a demon. All I knew is I had all these demons screwing with me, and that I had the Spirit in me. And so I had them. They were screaming blasphemies in my head. I'll be frank with you. They were raping me at night. They were throwing stuff around my apartment. They were stabbing me so hard that it took my breath away. I could feel them moving around inside of my body. And I remember I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, who do you tell? Who do you tell that you have all these demons? You're going to go to the psych ward. You're going to go to jail. People are going to think you're a nutcase. And so I'm like, I'll tell my mom. She'll understand. She's like, you're a nutcase. You're going to the psych ward. I'm like, all right. And so my family told me, you got to go to the mental hospital. I'm like, all right, I'll go. And so I go to the mental hospital. It was exactly where I needed to be, believe it or not. That place was filled with the Holy Spirit. The nurses were believers. They were praying for me. And I'm reading the Bible there. And the doctor, he's like, all these people are always in here talking about Jesus and demons. I don't understand it. I'm like, well, I was just like, I'm just shutting my mouth so they don't dope me up real good, And so I'm in this hospital, and I'm commanding these demons to get away from me and to get out of me. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just like, get out of me. And they're violently coming out of me. I had to run to my bathroom to get delivered. And this went on for months, these demons coming out of me. And even years later, I've still got demons coming out of me to this day. And within 6 months of this, not even 6 months, probably 4 months, the Lord threw me headfirst into doing deliverance ministry, and I've sat with hundreds of people at this point and cast thousands of demons out of people. And some of my family believes at this point. Some of them don't. Some of my friends believe. Some of them don't. And I'm just really blessed to be where I'm at. And so I just want to say to everyone here that there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no condemnation. And it's a wrestling match. And the word says, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God so that he may lift you up in due time. Submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And then 1 Peter 5, it says, cast all your cares. I like how the Amplified says it. Cast all your cares, all your worries, everything. Cast it on the Lord once and for all. Stand firm against the devil in the faith. And after you have suffered a little while, God himself will strengthen, confirm, restore, and establish you. So keep wrestling. Keep fighting. Don't be ashamed. The Lord will free you in due time as you submit and resist. And the level of freedom you get is proportional to the level of submission and resistance. And with that, God bless y'all.